Number 8, Hiranyagarbha Sukta. Yascedapo mahina paryapashyat dakhandadhana janayantir yajnam yo deveshwadhi deva eka asi tasmai devaya avisha vidhema. Yaschidapo yaha chit apaha. You remember last class we said apaha is the word for Brahman. It's also water, but it is actually Brahman. Yaha apaha, that Brahman is chit. Chit means what? Consciousness. So that Brahman, yaha, that chit consciousness, apaha, which is Brahman, that means the all-pervasive Brahman is called apaha in the last mantra. Now we are adding one more adjective, that it is also consciousness, chit. And then this, what does it do? Mahina, by its greatness. So the very word Brahma or Brahman comes from the root brih. Brihi vruddhau is the Sanskrit Panini's root. That which grows. So what is it that grows as far as Brahman is concerned? It is not spatial growth. It is spatial growth also. But it is not just spatial growth, but it is the growth of greatness. Mahina. So as soon as we say something is very, very great, it can be spatial, it can be temporal, that is time and space, or it can be consciousness also. So since Brahman's nature is consciousness, Brahman is spatially growing, temporally growing. Spatially means what? Infinite space. Temporally growing, infinite kala, and at the same time infinite consciousness. So Anantam is suggested by talking about Mahina. So you can see the root, the original concept of Brahman's definition as Satyam Jnanam Anantam is in this Rigveda mantra, ancient Rigveda mantra of Hiranyagarbha Sukta, Mahina, by greatness. So by greatness, what did you do? Pari apashyat, seeing everywhere. So that means it has expanded both spatially, temporally, and in consciousness. And it is seeing everywhere. How do we translate this? It means it is omnipresent. Because to see something, you must be in the proximity of that thing you want to see. So if you say it is seeing everything, that means it is in the proximity of every entity in the universe. If it has to be in the proximity of every entity in the universe, it must be omnipresent. So therefore, pari apashyat, this phrase is now suggesting that this is omnipresent. So we said it is omniscient. Now and then we also said it is absolute potentiality, and now we are also saying it is absolute omnipresence also. How the Rishi, Yaschidapo Mahina Paryapashyate, in one phrase, he has given us the definition of Parabrahman. Then, so is this just an existence, consciousness, infinitude? Is that all? Daksham dadhana. Daksham dadhana means who is the bearer of this divine power, the Divya Shakti. So whatever power is there, it starts as a potential power. The same potential power becomes the kinetic power also. So how does it become a kinetic power? By yajnam janayanti, by creating the yajna, which is the creative power. So the omniscient power, the potential power of this Parabrahman also becomes the kinetic power of all actions. All actions are called yajna here. So which is the basis, which is the engine that drives all these activities? We outwardly see that all things have got displaying energy. For example, I am moving. What will you say? Ashwath is moving. How do you say that? You are looking my body moving from point A to point B. But it is not this body that is moving. This body is made to move by a strength, by a potentiality inside. And that potentiality is not visible. But without that potentiality, it is impossible for this body to move. So in every yajna here, you must interpret that every activity that takes place, janayanti, that means the srishti shakti, the creative power of the individual entity to do anything is because of the divya shakti or the divine power which belongs to yat chit apaha, this immense Brahman which is one of consciousness. So in other words, it is this Brahman which is omniscient, all-pervasive, one consciousness, Mahina, from its own internal, intrinsic eminence and potentiality. What is it doing? It is Deveshu Adhiyaha. Deva means that which shines, that which acts. So each one of us is a Deva. Why? Because we are able to shine. We are able to be perceived by others. And therefore every one of us is a Deva. Every entity in the universe which can be seen or perceived is a Deva. And Deveshu Adhi. In all those Deva, this is the support. If this consciousness support was not there, all these individual entities which are functioning cannot function. But then are these many? To answer that question, Eka Asit. Only one was there. Only one makes the many function. And all the functionality of every one of them is derived by the Divya Shakti of this Apaha or Brahman. So to simplify that, the Divya Shakti, the divine power, manifests as Yajna Shakti, that is the power that is seen as doing things, of the doing entities, Devas. So the Divya Shakti manifests as the Yajna Shakti of the Devas. How can that happen? It is because it is the indweller. If it is not indwelling in each and every one of those entities, each of the entities could not function. Isn't it? So this is why we say that the God in you is the same as the God in me. So when I say Namaste, that means the God in me is now going down to the God in you. So each one of us is the manifestation of Brahman only. And then, by being the one indweller in all the different entities which display different kind of powers, isn't it? Different kind of powers, but all of them derive from one power. So if a group of things seem to be active, and that group of things, some are static, some are dynamic, the ability for something to be static is a power, the ability for something to be in motion is a power. And all those powers are coming from only one. And that has to be the support of all. And so what do we conclude from this mantra? That this apaha parabrahman is sarvantaryamitvam. Sarva antaryamitvam. That means the indwellership of everything. The indweller of everything. Number 2, it is all-pervasive. Sarva vyapakatvam. Maya tatamidam sarvam. Sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina maya idam sarvam tatam. Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita it says avyaktamurtina. I who is invisible. Invisible. Murti means what? Invisible manifestation. Murta or murti means manifestation. Avyaktamurtina. The invisible manifestation of I, Maya. Idam sarvam. All this is tatam pervaded. So Krishna gets his idea from this mantra. And then he is an enabler of the functioning of each and every entity. And his ability is more than the conglomerate, the sum of all the powers of every entity. And therefore, what is the next conclusion? This Parabrahman is Sarvashaktaha. So, Sarvantaryamitvam, Sarvavyapakatvam, Sarvashakti. All powerful. And it is also the support of everything. It is in that, because of the support only, the whole universe is existing, both macrocosmically and microcosmically. And therefore, what does it say? Matsthani bhutani. Everything is established in me. And then, what is the source of power for this Brahman to do all these things? By its own glory. Mahima. Here Mahima means by its own glory. This idea has been caught in every teaching that is there from this point onwards. Look at the Upanishads. A simplified version of it, definition of this, it comes from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Eko Devaha Sarva Bhuteshu Gudha. Eko Devaha. One Deva. Sarva Bhuteshu Gudha is hidden in every entity. Sarva Vyapi is all-pervading. Sarva Bhuta Antaratma. And then what? He is the Lord of all activities. Karmadhyaksha. Each and every activity he is behind. Sarva Bhutadhivasa. And that every activity has a beginning, has a continuation and an end, is being witnessed. Sakshi Cheta. But he is only one, irrespective of any number of entities. Kevala. And all the characteristics of the entities in which he inheres, he is not affected. Nirgunascha. And nothing can function without this Parabrahman, so Eko Vashi. If this energy was not there, the entity cannot function, so Eko Vashi. Nishkriyam, one which can do nothing. And is it one entity which is non-functional? All of them, many of them. Tam Bahunam. Then there is one source, Ekam Bijam. Makes it into many. Bahudaya Karoti. And where is he? In yourself. Tamatmastam. So, this whole mantra, simplified in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, एको devas sarvabhuteshu gudah sarvavyapi sarvabhutantaratma karmadhyakshas sarvabhutadivasah sakshi cheta kevalo nirgunascha eko vashi nishkriyam tam bahunam ekam bijam bahudha yah karoti. What is the use of knowing all this? Why should you know all these things? So you have to tell the Palashruti. The Palashruti, the Upanishad says, tam atmastham ye anupashyanti dhiraha. That which is within you, whoever can see, tesham sukam shashvatam, their happiness is eternal. Na itaresham, not of others. So only when ultimately we see this indwelling sarvantaryami ekam bijam. So what are all the things he is? He is the refuge, gatihi, bharta, prabhuhu, sakshi, nivasaha, sharanam, suhrit, prabhavam, prabhavah, pralayam or pralayah, sthanam, nidhanam, bijam avyayam. Gita 9:16. That also completely parses this mantra. Then, how does he do all these things? How does an individual, a rishi, who can sit in meditation and contemplate, can even perceive this? See, the question is, yeah, all these things are fine, but these were seen by a sage. How did the sage see? The sage saw Yan Mahina because of his glory, because of the glory of Brahman. So what is the role of Brahman? Brahman's role is to make all these things happen, and Brahman's role is also to give you the ability to see that. Otherwise even you cannot see. And
that's why he says, Yasmat Vrunute.
Kanate Swam. So he is the one. Therefore, if you seek, again he sits in the seer and then shows himself. Yan Mahina. So, it is in our everyday experience. So, all this is, let us say, Vedanta students may be able to connect it. What if no knowledge of Vedanta absolutely is there? They have not come across all these things at all. But is a thinking person. So a thinking person will be saying that, okay, at the end of the day, I am so exhausted because I have worked so hard from morning till evening. First thing is, body refuses to work because you are so physically exhausted. And then you will say, okay, I will sit on the couch and then I think. Even the mind refuses to think when you are totally tired, isn't it? So body cannot function, mind cannot think even for the brightest of the bright. So what do? They go to bed and sleep. So then they completely get refreshed after falling asleep. And then they wake up in the morning and they are completely refreshed. And as soon as this is refreshed, every energy that was there, physical and mental energy, intellectual energy, all of them come back. So the question how that can happen is also answered in this mantra, Yaha Chit Apaha Mahina. Yaha Apaha, this Brahman, Mahina, by its own glory, of the Chit, its own glory of the consciousness. And that consciousness lends the refreshing to the entity which has rested. So if you are thinking, when I was in sleep, I was completely unaware of what was going on with me. And that awareness was not lost. And that awareness was with Brahman. And that awareness was returned to us by Brahman because of its own glory. En Mahina. So the original source is the one that supplies the mental and the physical energy. And that one Deva is Adidevaha is Ekaha. Because of all these eminence of this Brahman, he is worthy of our oblations. Another important conclusion we draw is, why should we worship? We should worship because he is the one who makes us who we are. Therefore, Kasmai Devaya Havisha Videma. So therefore, what does a devotee do? Consciously, the person worships. Nitya Yukta Upasate. Gita 9:15. So all these concepts are there in Rajavidya, Rajagukta Yoga. Only thing is we have to map that. Nitya Yukta Upasate. Nitya Yukta Upasate means what? Nitya Yukta, yoked every day or every moment. Yoked with what? With this Yaschidapa. That Yaschidapa, of course, Krishna says I. It is the I after all. It is the I which doesn't have me, mine and all that. It is that I. More in the next class. Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma yadvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is why Sanjaya calls Dhritarashtra as Mahipate and he calls Krishna as Hrishikesha. I was just talking about that in the last Gita class. So when Sanjaya addresses Dhritarashtra as Mahipate, so what is the meaning of Mahipate? Mahi means Artha. Pati means husband. Lord husband, isn't it? What is Artha? Earth is, by itself, is a inert object. Husband of a inert object. One. Secondly, what is all the relationship of Pati and the Pati of the entity? An entity and the Pati, what is the relationship? They come at some point of time. It is called a samyoga. Isn't it? Two entities come together at some point of time. It is called samyoga. Anything that has samyoga has to be viyoga only. Correct? So you are Mahi, the Artha, and you are the Pati. So there is a marriage between this Artha and the king. It's a samyoga. That samyoga will go. But what about Rishika means Indriyas? What about the Indriyas? Indriyas are the manifestation of consciousness. En Mahina Chita. It's a consciousness. So one who is the Lord of consciousness, it doesn't say Pati. Lord of consciousness means there is no samyoga viyoga. There is a constant association between the consciousness and the one who displays the consciousness. And that therefore there is no union and disunion. That's why Gita should be read very carefully because Veda Vyasa places each one of them so perfectly. So this is what I was talking in the first chapter of the Gita when I say, why did Sanjaya address Dhritarashtra as Mahipate, and in the same verse, second pada, he addresses Krishna as Rishikesha. Number of other names were available, but he was only that. So this is the meaning of this mantra. We are only the patis of the earthly body. We are only the husbands of our body. And it is incidental to a particular birth. And therefore, there is samyoga, there is going to be a viyoga. But the consciousness, universal consciousness, and the consciousness individualized called Atman, universalized consciousness called Brahman, both of which are Ekam, one. They were never brought together. They were always together. And therefore, there is no mortality at all. So therefore, that which is mortal is ever mortal. That which is immortal is ever immortal. Tatra ko moha kashokaha. So that is the undertone of this mantra.